advanced belts for PAGI 6, we're going to be working on making sure your stances are correct when you transition from a back stance to a front stance. So an example here is when you do the two sides of the form at the top, you'll start in your loadable knife, you'll do your loadable knife, you'll chamber, and you'll step out to your twin outer forearm block. A common mistake we see is that when you step, you don't actually step far enough, you kind of rotate. So the goal here is to make sure your foot moves all the way out so you're in that proper front stance when you land. Also to the back of the form. When you do the middle double knife and you go for your combination palm strike, you have to step out and do your strike to make sure you have a strong base. If you don't have that strong base when you rotate, you're off balance and it could end up affecting the next couple moves or that move as well. So how we're going to do this is everyone's going to go ahead and grab a pillow. Don't go yet, but watch first. So in this case, I'll use the shield as my pillow. I'm going to set it down on the floor and I'm going to stand on one side of it. So we'll use the two sides as our example here. I'll chamber, I'll do a proper back stance in my loadable knife. When I chamber for the next move, I can go ahead and peek at the pillow to make sure I'm not going to trip over it. But you're going to step up and over and shift into your front stance as you do your block. So we are doing this drill to make sure your stance ends up correct. Obviously, we would not lift our foot and go over this way in our form, but this is a training tool to make sure you guys have those stances in the proper place. So one more time, I'll chamber, I'll block, chamber, block, and making sure I land in that proper front stance. Of course, I'm going to do it on the other side as well, and you guys will do this step by step with the instructor. So the instructor will say, loadable knife, chamber, step over, and block, just like that. And then of course, the last one we have is the moves to the back. You'll chamber for the middle double knife, back stance, chamber. Be careful when you turn into your reverse front stance that you don't hit the pillow too much, and then step out and do your strike here. Advanced belts, we're going to be working on the second set of sides for PAGI 8, if you are a red belt or a red senior. So the sides themselves are a chop in a back stance, an elbow in a horse stance, and an in-to-out punch in your front stance. So the biggest thing to focus on here is making sure your stances land in the proper position as you're going through the side. So we're going to do the side, but we're going to take away all our hand techniques. We're just going to put our hands on our hips and we'll do the three stances in order. So we'll step out into our back stance, making sure that all our toes are facing the proper direction. We'll step out into our horse stance and we'll step out into our front stance. The reason we're going through this is because one of the most common mistakes on this form is kind of combining the stances, especially the first two. So we see a lot of back stances that have the foot at an angle, same as horse stances having the foot at an angle. We wanted a full back stance, a full horse stance, and then of course that full front stance, making sure your back foot pivots to lock in your stance. We'll do this on the other side as well. So it will be back stance, horse stance, and front stance. And you guys will be following your instructor's directions. They'll be giving one stance at a time. And then later on, you'll be told to do the whole side. So when you do the whole side, your responsibility is to make sure you're focusing on those feet and watching them land in the proper direction each time.